What I'm about to show you is an incredible moment in an interview that was conducted by Dan Rather. Remember him? Used to be the anchor at, what was it, CBS, I think? The anchor man. Not somebody that has, ever been a particular favorite of mine, but I do think that here in this particular interview, he has a bright and shining moment. And I don't know whether it's something that, whether he just didn't know the script, or whether the point was somehow for him to say this in order for it to be refuted by the guy he's interviewing. The guy he's interviewing in this portion of a scene that we're going to see here is Jerome Hauer. Jerome Hauer was somebody who worked he was, I think, an executive director of Kroll Associates, which helped to ensure the World Trade Center, and he was also with the director of the Emergency Services team, who had offices at Building 7. So he's a bigwig, dual citizen, dual Israeli-American citizen, and so forth. And this is what you're hearing. The conversation you're about to hear is taking place just hours after the whatever struck the buildings. And of course, on the day they were saying it was two planes, and the official story still would have you believe that it was two planes, even though aluminum sided planes colliding into steel girded towers and crashing all the way through to the other side is not just far-fetched, it's physically impossible. But that's a different story. I just want to play a little bit of this exchange, because I find it quite extraordinary, and I think it's noteworthy what takes place here. So again, Dan Rather is about to ask. He has Jerome Hauer on the line here, or maybe he's in the studio with him. I'm not sure, and he's about to ask him a very interesting question.
Did another tower collapse? Is this massive destruction, the World Trade Center, based on what you know, and I recognize we're dealing with so few facts, is it possible that just a plane crash could have collapsed these buildings, or would it have required the sort of prior positioning of other explosives in the building? What do you think?
No, my sense is that just one, the velocity of the plane and the fact...
No. Whoa! I'm going to go back and play that again, but note just how quickly Jerome Hauer said, no. Prior positioning of explosives, no, it's not going to be, it's not that, even though this just happened, and who knows, how does he know anything about what the reasons were for why these buildings collapsed? Of course he probably does, but I'm just saying, according to the OS, the 9/11 OS, the official story, how would he know? How does anyone know anything about why this occurred? So Rather asks, interestingly, again, a very reasonable, pertinent question. And just, again, listen to just how quickly, with what rapidity, Jerome Hauer just says, no, not that.
Based on what you know, and I recognize we're dealing with so few facts, is it possible that just a plane crash could have collapsed these buildings, or would it have required the sort of prior positioning of other explosives in the building? What do you think?
No, my sense is that just one, the velocity of the plane and the fact that there were a plane filled with fuel hitting that building that burned, the velocity of the plane.
Velocity of the plane, the velocity, plane velocity, the fuel, the velocity of the plane. Listen to... Now, I don't know, again, I'd be very curious to know whether Hauer was taken aback by this, whether Rather actually went off script and asked a question that was worthy of a journalist at this moment, and Hauer just didn't know. He was flustered. He was off his game. He didn't really know how to respond, and so he just had to stammer out, "No. It's I think it's just the velocity of the plane and the fuel and the velocity and the plane and the fuel velocity and so forth." Let's go back. Let's go back one more time. I just kind of, in spite of myself, I find this rather amusing.
Possible that just a plane crash could have collapsed these buildings, or would it have required the sort of prior positioning of other explosives in the building? What do you think?
No. Now, I think Rather is actually asking a question here. That's my conclusion. I think he's actually being a journalist. So points to Rather for that, at least at this moment, because the way that he sounds, he's sort of, he's got this, he's this germ of an idea rattling around in his head, and it's like, could this have been was this really all due to the collision of planes, or could it have been? Again, the way that he looks for the words, it doesn't sound like he's just been fed this question. I think he's actually asking this question, and Hauer is just very fumblingly trying to refute this whole notion that inherent in the question of the possibility of prior positioning of explosives. And by the way, this interview is not something you would be able to see on the internet, on YouTube, or anywhere if it weren't for some 9/11 revisionist outfit, AE 9/11 Truth is in this case, the ones who reposted this portion of this interview. You don't find CBS posting this, just like you don't find whoever it was it ABC posting the Barbara Walters interview with Ted Olson. That's long gone. They've tried to memory hole that, and this is another thing that it looks like they've tried to memory hole. But let's just hear it one more time, and this time I'll let it run through and then give my final thoughts.
Just a plane crash could have collapsed these buildings, or would it have required the sort of prior positioning of other explosives in the building? What do you think?
No. My sense is that just the velocity of the...
His sense is, what is that? What worth is Jerome Hauer's sense of what happened? We're talking about the day of. What does it matter what his sense of things is? This is something that should be investigated. I mean, at the very least, he should say something like, "Well, we don't know yet. We should, we'll look into it and see what the case may be as far as that goes." But right now, we really think it was Bin Laden or something like that. Of course, he tries to shift the subject to Bin Laden. Sorry, I said I was going to let it go all the way through. I'll let it go all the way through now.
And the fact that you have a plane filled with fuel hitting that building that burned, the velocity of the plane certainly had an impact on the structure itself. And then the fact that it burned and you had that intense heat probably weakened the structure as well. And I think it was simply the planes hitting the buildings and causing the collapse.
Again, how does he know? How does he know? And who cares whether it's his sense of things or not? Who cares what his sense of things is? All right, let me just show you my steering wheel now. It's a quite extraordinary moment. Again, in retrospect, I'm sure on the day of, it wasn't really noticed, just in the heat of the moment, because there was so much going on and so much confusion and chaos, and people's minds were scrambled. But 20 years on, this is pretty sus, as the kids say these days. That he would just out of hand refute any notion, any idea that this could have been anything besides the velocity of the planes and the jet fuel and the heat and the structure and the cold velocity. And you see how he's just stammering that crap out. He's desperate to throw it up at the wall. And this isn't what's not included in this. I mean, what you don't hear because it's a short clip. But I remember watching it before, a slightly longer clip that's probably somewhere on the internet as well. He changes the subject or he talks about Osama bin Laden, and of course, all the usual suspects were quick to talk about Osama bin Laden. He was immediately on the lips of everybody who was an influential news pundit, everybody who was an influencer. They didn't have influencers yet, but in the parlance of 2021, every influential influencer was immediately saying Osama bin Laden, Osama bin Laden, Osama bin Laden, Osama bin Laden. Planes, velocity, jet fuel. But anyway, props to Rather. I mean, grudgingly, because he's kind of an ass, but props to him for asking a real question. And wow. I mean, it's still a little, I don't know, I'm still taken aback, but I don't know, I think I just have this naivete about me, that people caught in bold-faced lies, or as in the case with Ted Olson or Larry Silverstein, which I've shown you in previous interviews or previous videos, or in this case, somebody just immediately, frantically attempting to say no, not prior positioning of planes. That's not. No. It's the velocity and the fuel and the structure. Yeah, that's the ticket. Anyway, thanks for watching.